To our other big story tonight, 3 people who died during an enraged gunman's rampage. In an upscale Montgomery County, Maryland subdivision, they have been identified tonight.
All of them were essentially innocent bystanders to some kind of domestic violence meltdown. The trouble came to them. Scott Broom is in Brookville this evening with all of the new details. Scott.
Well, the house behind me is where all of this happened. A doctor who lived here, a family friend, the contractor who happened to be working on the deck out back. Those were the 3 people killed by a gun-slinging neighbor who came bursting into this house here where the gunman's wife had run from her house looking for help. The victims, 66-year-old Dr. Mary Ann Smathers Olson, who lived here with her husband, a contractor, 54-year-old Craig Harold Shotwell, and a family friend who was visiting, Danny Lee Murphy of Brandon, South Dakota, all murdered by an enraged neighbor from across the cul-de-sac who'd forced his way into the home after his wife fled there, saying her husband had been holding her against her will all weekend inside the big brick house with the white columns out front. The shooter was 41-year-old Christopher Wilson Snyder, a federally licensed firearms dealer linked in online profiles to a security company with an address at the house here on Brown Farm Way in Brookville. Snyder, the man some neighbors described as a surly blowhard who drove his high-horsepower car through the subdivision at high speed and rarely spoke to anyone.
He used to be special forces. He's a little bit paranoid. He's got the cameras all set up on the outside of his house and was not really that social.
I mean, we all pretty much knew to stay away from this guy.
Stunned neighbors like Becky Sisson said Snyder at times claimed everything from special ops military service to clandestine overseas work, but few believed him and no one cared to check.
We're all kind of realizing now is learning the history of what he's got with this, selling arms. He's got a licensed gun dealer. Apparently there's a record of domestic dispute, different ththings like that. You just wonder how somebody can have that kind of license and still, carry all these weapons. I mean, they're saying there's a huge arsenal in a secret room there.
WUSA 9 has been unable to confirm Snyder's claims of military service. Dr. Olson's sister told the Washington Post the 66-year-old physician died while trying to calm Snyder down. SWAT teams locked down the subdivision yesterday surrounding Snyder's house, where the suspect fled after the shootings. He killed himself as police assaulted the house at 11 p.m. after hours of fruitless negotiation. All right, that's Snyder's house behind me here, across the street from the neighbor's house where all of this happened. Police have wrapped up their investigation. They took all kinds of stuff out of there. They didn't tell us what they got or whether they seized any additional firearms. There were 3 people that escaped this rampage that were inside the neighbor's house. Those people included Snyder's wife, who was the target of all of this. Just an incredible neighborhood tragedy with these neighbors who are innocent bystanders thrust into this thing when a woman comes looking for help. 3 of them died in the house across the street, and people here just still trying to process all of it. Reporting live in Brookville, Montgomery County, Scott Broom, WUSA 9.
Another tragic illustration, Scott, that domestic violence knows no boundaries. Adam?